Whenever you're ready.
As a kid, my mom would always tell my brothers and I not to do something to them just because they would do something to you. She'd always say, two wrongs don't make it right. When we use our words, we're supposed to use our words to solve problems and not our fists. So when we look at the justice system, we're forced to see the irony in that. Capital punishment, or the death penalty as it's more commonly known, has been in effect since the 18th century BC. Today, the death penalty is still carried out for crimes such as treason, murder in the first degree with at least one aggravating factor, sex crimes with victims under 11, hijacking a plane, and terrorist acts. Capital punishment should be eliminated because of its effect on the economy, social morality, and criminality. Today, I'd like to address one of the issues in the criminal justice system, capital punishment, and why we should abolish it. Today, there are 17 states, Massachusetts included, that have already abolished the death penalty. The problem is, for example, in California, that the cost of one death penalty trial is on average 8 times more than a non-death penalty trial. This is because of the research and pretrial costs that the lawyers and things have to do before the trial even gets started. A person who pays more than $320,000 for representation is twice as likely to not be sentenced to death than a person who pays less than that amount. In California alone, a savings of $170 million a year, or $5 billion over the next 20 years, could be saved by eliminating the death penalty. The morality of the death penalty also raises questions. Not only does the application of capital punishment depend mainly on race, and the victim of the defendant, but it also puts many people to death who are innocent. Since 1973, over 140 people have been released from death row in 26 states because of innocence. Nationally, at least one person is exonerated for every 10 that are executed. With this, we can never really know how many innocent people were sentenced to death. The prosecutors also choose whether or not they want to pursue the death penalty. In this way, they're extremely subjective, and rulings are often determined by race and social standing. For example, Manny, who was an immigrant who came over from Cape Verde, who dropped out of school at 17 and was a Vietnam veteran, and was later diagnosed with schizophrenia. One night, while walking home, Manny broke into the home of an elderly woman. He has no memory of this event, but one theory is that he heard shooting coming from her television, which was turned to a station that was airing a movie about Vietnam. Manny attacked the woman who died of a heart attack. Then he placed her body on a mattress and tied a leather strap around her ankle. He stole a lighter, 2 watches, and some roll of nickels. Tagging the bodies and taking souvenirs was common after a killing in Vietnam. While Manny's trial was going on, there were 2 other homicides in the same courthouse. One man kidnapped 2 women, raped them both, and killed one outright and left the other for dead, throwing them into a hole and burying them with rocks. The surviving woman dug herself out of the hole and got a ride back to town. The other man also kidnapped a woman and then shot her in the hip. She bled to death in the back of her car. Reporters covering the 2 trials said that the 2 men would be sentenced to death, while Manny would most likely be sentenced to life. The reporters are wrong, and the jury sentenced Manny to death, and the other 2 men, who were both white, received life sentences. Senator Russ Feingold of the Senate states, we simply cannot live in a country that offers equal justice to all Americans when racial disparities plague the system by which our society imposes the ultimate punishment. We also cannot ignore that the death penalty not only has an effect not only on the perpetrator of the crime, but also the victims' families and society as a whole. The death penalty does nothing to deter a crime from happening. It only punishes the person after the crime has been committed. Mostly because criminals don't really think ahead before they kill someone. Putting criminals to death does nothing to address the root of the problem in this nation. The FBI has found that states with the death penalty have higher murder rates. For example, between 1990 and 1994, the homicide rates in Wisconsin and Iowa, both non-death penalty states, were half the rates of its neighbor, Illinois, which restored the death penalty in 1973, and by 1994 had sentenced 223 people to death and carried out 2 executions. Between 2000 and 2010, the murder rate in states with capital punishment was 25 to 46% higher than states without the death penalty. In It's been shown that the death penalty also has an effect on victims' families and is severe and often negative. One woman who met with many families who were related to victims of death penalty cases says, "I am not suggesting that the end of a legal case brings closure to families, but I am suggesting that the ongoing high-profile nature of death penalty cases continues to open up wounds by making it extremely difficult to heal." The unknown victims of these death penalty cases are often the families of the perpetrators of the crime. Kathy, a mother of a death penalty inmate, says that the experience of having a loved one on death row has formed chronic grief. The fact that her government was prepared to kill her child constantly weighed on her mind. In grocery stores, at church, or community meetings, Kathy wondered if people she was interacting with supported her child's execution. What we have to ask ourselves is, do we have the right to purposefully and publicly kill a member of our own society? In the end, we cannot expect a society whose government tells its citizens not to be violent, or they will be killed to be nonviolent. This is essentially fighting premeditated murder with premeditated murder. The death penalty not only uses up valuable resources that could be put towards other and better methods of crime prevention, it is unjust to many of the criminals put there and had an indelible impact on society as a whole. In the end, the death penalty should be abolished in the remaining 33 states. The unintended consequences manifest themselves in Ron McAndrew, a former prison warden in Florida, who says, "I've been haunted by the men I was asked to execute in the name of the state of Florida. This is premeditated, carefully thought out ceremonial killing."